There is a story about a man named Noah. According to the Bible, he was the only holy man on earth chosen by God to survive a flood that destroyed all life. After the flood, Noah planted a vineyard, drank wine, got drunk, and lay naked inside his tent. And then comes one of the Bible's most puzzling moments. His son Ham sees him naked. That's all the text clearly says. Yet, when Noah wakes up, he doesn't just express anger, he unleashes a curse. But not on Ham. He curses Ham's son, Canaan. He declares that Canaan's descendants will be slaves to his brothers. In Genesis chapter 9 verse 25, the Bible says, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." Why? What did Ham actually do? Why does the Bible leave it vague? And why would a supposedly holy man curse his own grandson so severely? These questions have haunted readers for centuries and opened the door to many theories. What did Ham actually do? The Bible's wording is suspiciously vague. It says Ham saw his father's nakedness and told his brothers. But when Noah wakes up, it says he knew what his youngest son had done to him. Not just seen, done. That phrasing has led to multiple interpretations. Because the Bible seems to deliberately avoid disclosing exactly what Ham had done, biblical scholars and interpreters have had no choice but to speculate. These are the four major interpretations scholars have put forward. 1. The traditional explanation is simply that Ham saw Noah naked and disrespected him. But would that really justify such a heavy curse? 2. A more symbolic reading suggests that seeing the nakedness refers to sleeping with Noah's wife. This idea comes from the Bible in the book of Leviticus, where uncovering a man's nakedness often means having sexual relations with his wife. So by this view, Ham dishonored Noah by sleeping with his own mother, and Canaan might have been the child of that union. 3. A darker interpretation is that Ham sexually assaulted Noah while he was unconscious. This would explain why the Bible says Noah knew what had been done to him. 4. Yet another theory says Ham castrated Noah while he was asleep. In this version, Ham might have been angry or afraid that Noah would have more sons, reducing his share of inheritance. Or in a more mythical version, Noah may have wanted Ham's wife, and Ham responded by mutilating him. None of these theories are proven, but all of them try to make sense of the strange punishment that follows and the missing details in the text. Why curse Canaan? Even if Ham committed some terrible act, why curse Canaan, his innocent son? There is no justification for punishing a child for something his father did, especially in a story that's supposed to come from a just and loving God. Some scholars believe this story was written to justify the conquest of Canaanites by the Israelites. By portraying Canaan as cursed from birth, the story gives a divine excuse for wiping out entire peoples later in biblical history. But morally, this only makes it worse. It shows how religious texts can be shaped to justify land grabs, oppression, or genocide using divine authority as cover. For centuries, Christian interpreters twisted this story even further. They claimed that Ham was the ancestor of African people and that the curse of Canaan explained black slavery. This idea, completely false and not supported by the text, was used to justify racism, colonialism, and the transatlantic slave trade. It poisoned theology and society for generations. In fact, the curse was placed on Canaan, not all of Ham's descendants. Yet, that didn't stop people from misusing it. Even today, some still refers to this curse of Ham as if it were biblical truth, when in reality it was a racist invention built on a vague and troubling passage, borrowed from older myths. What makes the story even more questionable is that it appears to be adopted from much older myths. In one ancient Mesopotamian tale, a god becomes drunk and is shamed by another divine figure. In some myths, similar family tensions and shameful acts appear, but with different names and cultural settings. The biblical story of Noah doesn't come out of nowhere. It reflects older storytelling traditions from the ancient Near East and may have been rewritten with a new theological purpose. So, what does this tell us? This story raises difficult questions. If Noah was the holiest man on earth, why is he drunk and naked? If Ham sinned, why punish his son? And if the story is inspired by earlier myths, why should anyone see it as divine truth? Instead of showing divine justice, the story of Noah and Ham reveals ancient taboos, family shame, power struggles, and human attempts to explain and justify social hierarchies. It's time we stop reading these stories as moral lessons or divine commands and start seeing them for what they really are: human myths with all the flaws and failures that come with them.